What up, YouTube? Chrono Uchiha here. I'm doing the getting to know a Power Rangers fan topic. I originally saw DosomRider and CollectorShuki do this, so I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring, or in this case, helmet. So how long have I been a Power Rangers fan? I'd say on and off since the middle of the first season. Um, I watched religiously all the way up to the end of Zeo, and by that point, I figured I started to feel like I was getting a little bit too old for the franchise. And then my brother, of all people, and his family went to see the Power Rangers Turbo movie, and they said, "Hey, Brandon, you're a big Power Rangers fan, right? So you would love to see this." So I went, and oh my God, I was bored out of my mind, and that really turned me off at Turbo. I did watch the finale though live, and that was pretty good. And I watched the first maybe five or so episodes of In Space, and it had some cool things in it, but I was pretty much done with it at that point. So I stopped watching. Disney era, watched a few episodes of Ninja Storm, and I didn't think it was that bad. And then when I heard Tommy Oliver was coming back for Dino Thunder, I of course watched that, and that was pretty good. I really liked that season. And I watched a few episodes of SPD here and there, but then Mystic Force, I had a big disdain for Harry Potter at the time and Lord of the Rings, and that's how it was described to me. So I was like, eh. I skipped down on that, and I pretty much didn't watch a Disney era season. I stopped watching Disney era after that. And then I think, was it 2011, we heard about rumblings of a Power Rangers movie. And then around that time, Linkara started doing his own history of Power Rangers, which really ignited my intrigue, I guess you'd say, for the Power Rangers franchise again. So I started watching. I guess I started watching like his reviews to catch up where the series I missed. And then I started watching Dino Thunder, which was actually a pretty good season. It's mixed with a lot of fans, but I actually kind of like it. And Ninja Steel is complete garbage, in my opinion. Like, I know it's not a popular thought, but I actually like Ninja, but I couldn't really get into Ninja Steel. I'm sorry. So anyway, what is my earliest Power Rangers memory? I remember my first episode of Power Rangers. Actually, a childhood friend of mine was like, "Oh, dude, you gotta check out this show called Power Rangers. It's so awesome." And my very first episode, if I remember correctly, was the chicken episode, where it's like Trini's cousin or someone gets kidnapped by a chicken and they have to take him out, and it was like completely ridiculous. And I was like, this show is stupid. And I thought it was completely, utterly stupid, and I intended not to watch it. And then a friend of my mother's, actually, well, coworker, I wouldn't say friend, her son was giving me like a lot of his old VHS tapes that he didn't watch anymore, and he happened to have like a few episodes of the Green with Evil saga. So I was like, I'll give it one more shot, and I absolutely loved that arc. Like the storytelling, the pacing, the escalating danger. It was just blowing my mind. Like this is the same show that I tried to watch like probably a few months back. And after that, I had to track down the rest of the Green with Evil saga. And then after that, I just pretty much started watching it. It just caught fire after that. And another memory is that like I said, Green. I was obsessed with the Green Ranger, and I had to have all of his tech and tools. And I remember the Dragon Zord in stores, and I wanted it desperately. And my mom was like, "All right, if you can get an A on your next spelling test, I will get you that Zord." And I didn't really care about school, but that was the only thing that made me focus and study hard just so I could get that toy. And sure enough, I got that A. The next day we went to that toy store and my mom bought me the Dragon Zord that came with the Green Ranger figure, and that was like one of my favorite toys of all time. Still is today, honestly. I wish I still had it. But yeah, that's pretty much my earliest memory. Who is my favorite Ranger? You'd think it'd be the stock answer, Tommy. And yes, back in the day it was Tommy, and I do have a love for Tommy. But as the years gone by, I almost have to say Jason, the original Red Ranger, is my favorite, just because he's sort of outside of outside of the Power Rangers universe. He's actually become like what I would expect the Power Rangers to do after they hang up their tights. He's actually a paramedic, and I guess as a ranger he was like the stoic, calm leader type, and I really admire that. and he's still involved in the franchise today. Not as much, I guess, as Jason David Frank, but Austin St. John is still, he still touts Power Rangers as a big part of his life, and obviously it will be. Um, what is my most prized possession in my collection? I'd have to say the Legacy Thunder Megazord, which is pretty ironic since I hated the Megazord as a kid because it replaced my favorite Megazord, which I guess is a spoiler for later question. But it replaced the Dino Megazord, and I was really peeved, and I tried my hardest not to like it. But the Legacy one is just so gorgeous. It's like I can't help it, with all the die cast and just, oh, it's just amazing overall. Anyway, what's my interest besides Power Rangers? I guess a lot of anime, manga, comic books. I'm a big fan of Pokemon. If it wasn't for Power Rangers, Pokemon would probably be my biggest obsession. Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, just generally anime, manga, Dragon Ball Z, that sort of thing. Um, what is the origin of my YouTube screen name? Chrono Uchiha. Um, well, the Chrono part comes from my favorite RPG of all time, Chrono Trigger, and the Uchiha part, if you don't know, is from a little anime called Naruto, which I can't believe I forgot that, one of my biggest obsessions at back in the early 2000s. Um, Sasuke Uchiha was my favorite character in that series. So I just pretty much meshed the two names together, Chrono Uchiha. Um, what YouTube videos do I watch? I guess generally, like I said, DosomRider, CollectorShuki for toy reviews, Toy Bounty Hunter. Um, I know there are a lot of Tokusatsu things and Power Ranger channels that I watch that I'm leaving out. I'm sorry. Henshin Time or Henshin Pulse. Um, but yeah, I watch a lot of Tokusatsu channels to learn more about Tokusatsu and the news and whatnot. Outside of that, I like maybe horror channels like Rob Dyke and Top 15s and Top 5 Unknowns, and a lot of horror channels, a lot of narration, a lot of gameplay videos for Nova. Definitely my favorite gaming commentator of all time. He's just hilarious. Um, that's about it. That's really Chi Town. I gotta throw some love to my boys. They do like a lot of comedies, jackass type stuff. So Chi Town Fat Fucks, check those out. Check those guys out. Um, yeah, that's about it YouTube wise. I know I'm forgetting a lot of people, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to think on the fly like that. So the next question was, what's my favorite season? I hate to be that fanboy, but it's always gonna be Mighty Morphin season one. Like, yes, I know it's corny and it's cheesy, especially to today's standards, but it's like, honestly, I can't explain why, but it's the only season I can rewatch. Like, I can rewatch the entire season. Hell, I can rewatch the entire three seasons of Mighty Morphin and be like, okay, I want to rewatch it again and start from the very first episode back again, like right afterwards. So yeah, I'd say Mighty Morphin is my favorite season of all time. Um, my favorite villain, oh my god, it has to be Mesagog. Like Mesagog is like one of the most devious, like sinister, and actually kind of scary villains of Power Rangers. Like Lord Zed didn't scare me, but if I saw Mesagog back as a kid, he probably would terrify me. And I think it's the thing of the VR Troopers thing. Like I never really got into VR Troopers, but I loved how the villain was like a human, and he would like dim his lights and then transform into this horrific villain. It's like, to me, I love villains like that because I used to always imagine like my authority figures like that, like my principal, like he'd be a hard ass, and then it's like I could imagine him going back into his office, turning the lights off, and then just turning into this big monstrous antagonist that I have to eventually take down. I always love villains like that, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of thing. So definitely Mesagog's my favorite villain. What's my favorite Megazord? I can do a top five right now. But as I said earlier, I spoiled it already. My favorite, my number one Megazord is the OG Megazord. Like I think it's just absolutely perfect. Like the dinosaur motif just spoke to me as a kid because I was obsessed with dinosaurs. I was obsessed with Godzilla. So the whole dinosaur motif was just amazing to me. So the OG Megazord will always have a place in my heart. Second best for me would be the Super Zeozords. Just the whole fact that they're like shapes, geometric shapes, and it works is amazing. And they're humanoid and they just kick all sorts of ass. And when they're combined, they just look amazing together. And you would think that how could they make a Megazord out of geometric shapes? But they did it, and it's completely amazing. Third favorite, Ninja Megazord. Ironically, I hated that one as a kid too, mainly because of the movie version. Like the CG ones looked horrible, and it made me never want the Ninja Megazord. So I missed out on it as a kid. But one of my best friends in the whole wide world got me the Legacy version, and I was just in love with it. Like that whole Christmas day, that never left my hand. Like that was just, oh my god, I felt like a kid again. But yeah, the Ninja Megazord is just for the fact that the animal forms are pretty cool, and it's so maneuverable and fast, and then it flies. Like how can you beat that? Second favorite is the Astro Megazord. Again, like I stopped watching it in space, but I love the Megazord, and I actually bought the Megazord even though I stopped watching at that point. It's like because it's a ship. Like it was the first time you actually had just the ship, and the main body itself wasn't five pieces. It was just the big ship that transformed into the body and the little shuttle that became the head. It was just very unique looking, and I was kind of getting into Star Trek at the same time too. So it was very Star Trek esque, and I liked it a lot. And my fifth favorite is another ironic choice was the Turbo Megazord because again I hated Turbo, but at least Megazord wise the Megazord didn't look that bad and it actually fit the theme of it looking like a car and it looked really cool and its finisher was very stylized with the spinning and the pose it did at the end. Like the Turbo Zords themselves don't even look that bad. They're kind of pointless in battle, but I mean the Turbo Zords themselves kind of look cool. So yeah, I guess that's my Ging the Nor Power Rangers fan. So I mean, if you're a fan, I would love to see like your origin and history behind what the franchise means to you. And yeah, I want to do more videos on Tokusatsu and Power Rangers and whatnot. And I would love to actually do maybe a point of Super Sentai, getting to know a Super Sentai fan. Maybe I'll just do that myself, or I'll wait for DosomRider and CollectorShuki to take the lead. But yeah, that's Chrono Uchiha. This is Chrono Uchiha, and that's my Ging no Power Rangers fan video. Take care. Peace.